Hey folks, today we got a good one for you. It comes up in my one-on-one lessons in my studio all the time, especially with my beginning and intermediate students. And there's a reason why I have a little keyboard in my hand, because we're going to make sense of what's the difference between flat and minor. And everybody seems to make the same mistake. They're assuming that flat and minor mean the same thing, but they do not. So we've got the keyboard turned on here, and the first thing we want to understand about this, and the reason we have this is we can actually visualize what we're talking about. It's very kind of difficult to explain this on the guitar, but I will after I show you what's going on here with the keyboard and how music works. So right here is a C next to the two black keys on the left, and next to the left of every two black keys is a C. So from there to there is a C, and an octave of music runs between those two C's. It goes do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then it continues from this C to this C. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Right? So we have two octaves on this keyboard and a couple extra notes on either side. So we're going to use this octave right here from C to C to explain what the difference is between flat and minor. So it goes like this: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, the C, C, D, E. And I'm going to play that E, and I say, hey, play me an E flat. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go half step down, which is this, and play that, and that's an E flat. So if I say, hey, play E flat, that's where we're starting at E flat. And I'm just talking about a single note now, not a chord. Okay, so let's take this a step further. C, D, E, E flat. That note, and depending on what key we're playing in, could also be called a D sharp. For all intents and purposes, we're talking about the concept of flat versus minor. So now let's talk about minor. First of all, to make something minor, we need a few notes, and especially we need what's called the third note. So we're going to count this scale, C, D, E, F, G, those first five as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to take the 1, 3, and 5, and that's called 1, 3, 5. That's the major triad. To make that a minor, a C minor, what we're going to do is we're going to flatten the third. 1, 2, 3, flatten that. And so we have a 1, 1, flat 3, 5. So now we have what's called a C minor chord. So that's the essential difference. We have a 1 flat 3, 5 versus a 1, 3, 5. So when somebody says, hey, I need you to play an E flat, that's not an E minor. If I need you to play a C minor, that's not a C flat. So 1, 3, 5 major, 1 flat 3, because we flatten the note by a half step. So when we say we're going to flatten a note, we're typically just going to take it and go like, there's D, there's D flat. It's also C sharp. Now there's a couple interesting things on the keyboard. Between B and C, there is no black key. So if I say C flat, I'm referring to a B note. And if I say F flat, there's no black key between E and F, so it's just going to be an E note. So there's no such thing as an F flat, but if I did say F, hey, I need to play F flat, you would know that I'm talking about an E. Now, on the converse of that, if I say I need an E sharp, here's E, C, D, E, and I say, hey, let's play an E sharp, that's just an F note. So E, F, because there's nothing in between. So, but there's an F sharp right there above the F. It's also a G flat. So the difference between flat and minor is typically referring to a triad, or at least a chord that has a third in it, and we're flattening the third. So that's where the confusion kind of lies. We actually have to flatten a note, flattening this E note in the middle to an E flat to make a minor, and that's called 1 flat 3, 5. So the difference between flat and minor is the idea that a triad has to have a flat note in it. But just a note going flat would be like we just take an E and we just go flat by a half step. And there's an E flat. Or a D and we go flat, and that's a half step. So C major, flatten the third, C minor. Let's just say we have an E flat note. Let's flatten that note, turns into a D. If we want to make it sharp, we go from D to D sharp. So sharp, flat, minor, all three different things. But sharp and flat are pretty similar. You know, we're just going up one for sharp, down one for flat. And that's the essence of that conversation. If you have any questions and you need clarification, please comment. Please subscribe and like. That helps this channel grow. It's been doing great, and I appreciate everybody for checking it out. Have a great day.